Welcome to Celeb Club. All your favorites are here.
What started as a normal day inside the courtroom suddenly turned into chaos when a lawyer completely lost control in front of Cardi B. Witnesses say the atmosphere was tense, the arguments heated, and the emotions overwhelming. Some people in the room were left in tears, others in disbelief. Cardi B, who has faced criticism and pressure throughout her career, now stood silently as the lawyer's words echoed across the court. This moment was more than just a legal clash. It was raw, human emotion, exposed under the weight of fame, power, and judgment. Welcome back to Star Celebrities. Today, we bring you a story that has shaken fans and critics alike. The courtroom is supposed to be a place of order and discipline, but when Cardi B appeared in front of the judge, everything changed. One lawyer lost his calm. His words filled the room with shock, and his outburst became the center of discussion around the world. This video is more than just about one heated moment. It is about Cardi B's journey, how fame shaped her life, how the justice system reacts to stars, and how the public sees every tear, every mistake, and every victory. We will go chapter by chapter to uncover what happened, what it means, and how the world is reacting. Cardi B, whose real name is Belcalis Almanzar, did not come from privilege. She worked her way up from the Bronx to the world stage with a voice that demanded attention and a personality that refused to be silenced. Her songs broke records, her confidence inspired millions, and her honesty made her relatable. But the same boldness that built her career also brought her into conflicts. As fame grew, so did the criticism. Every statement she made became news. Every move she took was judged. The courtroom eventually became a place where her public image and her private struggles collided. This case was supposed to be just another hearing. Instead, it became unforgettable. The courtroom was packed. Journalists waited with notepads ready, fans whispered from the back, and legal experts studied every detail. Cardi B entered wearing a calm expression, though her eyes carried the weight of expectation. She knew every step, every glance, every gesture would be recorded and broadcast. The lawyer on the opposite side had prepared for weeks. He came in ready with files, arguments, and determination. But as the questioning began, the pressure seemed to build. Cardi B's presence, her fame, and the tension of the trial started to affect his composure. People present say his voice grew louder, his hands trembled, and then in an instant, he lost control. His words turned harsh, his tone filled with frustration. The courtroom that once felt orderly now felt heavy with shock. Chapter 3: The Outburst. In that moment, silence filled the room. The lawyer raised his voice, his words carried anger and pain. He accused, he argued, and he broke the usual calm of a legal hearing. The judge looked startled, the audience gasped, and Cardi B sat frozen, listening without interruption. This was not the usual controlled tone of a lawyer. This was emotion spilling into a place meant for reason. Some called it unprofessional, others said it was human. Either way, it became unforgettable. Witnesses said you could feel the air change. People were moved, some even tearful, because they realized this was not just about Cardi B or about one case. It was about the breaking point that every human being can reach when stress and pressure collide. As the lawyer's words thundered across the courtroom, all eyes turned toward Cardi B. Everyone expected her to respond with the same fiery personality she shows on stage. But she did not. She sat still, her hands resting quietly, her expression calm, yet her eyes spoke louder than any words could. That silence was powerful. Some in the room later said it was more moving than any statement. It was the silence of a woman who has been judged her entire life. From critics who doubted her music to people who mocked her background, Cardi B had always responded with strength. But here, in the courtroom, her silence carried a different weight. It showed both dignity and exhaustion. The emotional contrast was striking. On one side, a lawyer losing his temper. On the other, a superstar holding her ground without speaking. The entire room could feel that moment, and the public would soon debate it for days. The judge was forced to intervene. Order was demanded, The gavel struck, the sound echoing through the hall, but the tension did not fade easily. The lawyer tried to compose himself, but his voice was still uneven. The judge gave him a stern look, reminding everyone that the courtroom was not a stage, but a place of justice. But even the judge seemed aware that this was no ordinary case. This was Cardi B, a celebrity whose life was followed by millions. The presence of cameras, reporters, and the global attention meant that every small detail would be magnified. The judge knew that no matter what decision was made, the public reaction would be overwhelming. This balance between legal order and emotional reality became the highlight of the case. News of the lawyer's outburst spread within minutes. Outside the courthouse, reporters rushed to share updates. Fans gathered, holding their phones up to capture any glimpse of Cardi B. Social media exploded. Hashtags began trending, fans expressed shock, and critics began debates. Some fans defended Cardi B, saying her silence showed strength and maturity. Others criticized the lawyer, calling his behavior unprofessional and disrespectful. But there are also voices that sympathized with the lawyer, saying the stress of dealing with a celebrity case could break anyone. Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok filled with clips and reactions. Memes were created within hours. Some turned the moment into humor, while others highlighted the serious pressure of fame. This digital storm transformed a courtroom outburst into a global conversation. Fame can look glamorous from the outside, but moments like this remind us that it carries a heavy cost. For Cardi B, every mistake, every expression, every word becomes news. For the lawyer, even a single slip in front of a celebrity client becomes a global headline. This is why the moment felt emotional for so many people. It showed the human side of both Cardi B and the lawyer. Behind the glitter of music awards and behind the seriousness of the legal system, there are people with emotions, doubts, and breaking points. The outburst and the silence together told a bigger story about the price of living under a spotlight. The media wasted no time. By the evening, every major outlet carried the headline about the lawyer who lost his calm in front of Cardi B. Some described it as the most dramatic courtroom moment of the year. Others framed it as proof of how overwhelming celebrity trials can be. Talk shows picked it up, experts debated on live TV, and online blogs published detailed breakdowns. The courtroom clip, if available, was replayed endlessly, with commentators analyzing every second. Some slowed down Cardi B's silent reaction, others focused on the lawyer's body language. What might have been a forgotten moment in an ordinary case became a sensational story because it involved Cardi B. The media turned the courtroom into a stage for the world, and every viewer was invited to watch. Cardi B's fans, known for their passion, rushed to defend her. They flooded social media with messages of support, praising her for keeping calm in a stressful situation. They said her silence showed strength and maturity. Some even claimed that her silence was a form of victory. But there were others who questioned if celebrities received too much sympathy. They argued that the lawyer was under immense pressure, facing a star whose influence could sway public opinion. In their eyes, his outburst was not weakness, but proof of the unfair weight placed on lawyers in high-profile cases. The debate grew louder. Every post, every tweet, every comment added fuel. What happened inside a single room now lived in the minds of millions. What made this story unforgettable was the emotional contrast. On one side, there was raw anger and frustration from the lawyer. On the other side was composed silence from Cardi B. That balance of fire and calm created a scene that felt like a movie. Viewers compared it to moments of history when silence spoke louder than words. Some described Cardi B's reaction as queen-like, saying she did not need to defend herself because her calmness was enough. But others saw the lawyer's reaction as a reminder that no one, even professionals, are immune to pressure. The emotional duality turned the courtroom clash into a symbol. It was no longer just about the case. It was about human nature under the spotlight. After the outburst, questions arose about whether the lawyer's behavior would affect the case. Legal analysts explained that while emotion is natural, professionalism is expected in a courtroom. Some argued that his credibility was damaged, while others said one emotional moment can't erase years of legal experience. The judge reminded both sides of the seriousness of the proceedings. The case itself continued, but the focus of the world had shifted. Instead of the legal details, people cared more about the emotional drama. It showed how, in celebrity cases, the story often overshadows the law. Behind the calm face, Cardi B carried storms of her own. Fame had brought her wealth, recognition, and a loyal fan base, but it also brought endless judgment. She had to defend her words, her family, her choices again and again in front of millions who watched her every move. In that courtroom, silence was not emptiness, it was survival. It was the silence of someone who had been called names, criticized for her past, and mocked for her background. Cardi B had always responded with strength, but here, in the courtroom, her silence carried a different weight. It showed both dignity and exhaustion. For the lawyer, this case may have been just another file, but the pressure of handling a celebrity case changed everything. Days of preparation, long nights of reviewing documents, and the constant fear of making a mistake piled up. Facing Cardi B in court was not like facing any other. Even after the gavel came down and order was restored, the echo of the lawyer's outburst remained in the air. Reporters scribbled faster, witnesses whispered to each other, and even the staff looked unsettled. Cardi B rose quietly at the end, her face calm, but her eyes revealing she had absorbed every second. The lawyer on the other side lowered his head, perhaps realizing that one moment had now defined his entire role in the trial. It was not just a clash of arguments, it was a clash of emotions that left an invisible mark on everyone who saw it. Outside the courthouse, voices grew louder. Supporters cheered Cardi B, calling her brave, while critics shouted that the justice system should never become a circus. Interviews with people present in the room revealed tears, shock, and disbelief. One witness said they had never felt a courtroom so heavy with emotion. Another said Cardi B's silence was unforgettable, like a storm hidden behind a smile. The people had spoken, and their voices shaped the narrative more than the legal documents ever could. This case, and this moment in particular, revealed a deeper truth about modern celebrity culture. Fame is power, but it is also pressure. A superstar like Cardi B can inspire millions, yet also stand vulnerable when judgment comes. A lawyer can spend years building a reputation, yet face collapse in a single heated moment. The courtroom became a mirror of society, showing how fragile balance is when emotions meet responsibility. Even weeks later, the incident continued to live online. Short clips spread across platforms, getting millions of views. Discussions about professionalism, strength, silence, and outbursts became trending topics. Documentaries, blogs, and podcasts kept the story alive. Cardi B herself remained quiet about the incident, letting the silence that day become her final word. And for many fans, that silence became legendary. In the end, what people remembered most was not the details of the case, but the raw emotions inside that courtroom. A lawyer who lost his composure and a superstar who chose silence created one of the most unforgettable contrasts in recent memory. It was shocking, it was emotional, and it was human.